Have you ever felt your entire life shift in a single moment? Like the ground under you just cracked open and there is no way to go back? If you know that feeling, then you already understand the moment I learned the man I trusted with my body, my future, and my unborn child was sleeping with someone else. My name is Emily, and before I tell you everything, make sure you subscribe because what I am about to say, it is not just a story. It is a warning. I was 7 months pregnant the night everything changed. 7 months. That was supposed to be the part where you feel safe enough to rest, to trust that the person beside you is there to protect you. But trust is a funny thing. It can look solid even when it is hollow. That evening, Mark walked through the front door later than usual. He had this strange smell on his clothes. Not perfume. More like a mix of someone else's laundry detergent and cheap body spray. I remember sitting on the couch with my swollen feet propped up, looking at him and thinking, something is not right. But pregnancy messes with your brain. You question yourself a lot. You blame hormones for things that your instincts are screaming about. He walked past me like I was invisible. No kiss, no. How are you feeling? Not even a glance at my belly. That was not like him, not before. Mark used to place his hand on my stomach every night, talking to the baby like he already knew him. That night, he acted like there was no baby, no pregnancy, no us. I asked him, long day at work? He froze for a second, then forced a smile. Yeah, you know how it is. He tossed his keys on the counter and grabbed a beer. Something in me tightened. You know when someone lies and their voice hits a different tone? His did. I wanted to ask more, but he already had this wall up, like he was daring me to question him. I decided not to push it. When you are pregnant, stress hits harder. My doctor told me to avoid arguments, keep my blood pressure down. But honestly, it was more than that. I was scared of the answer. Scared that the little cracks I had been noticing might lead to something I was not ready to see. The next few days were worse. Mark started guarding his phone like it held nuclear codes. Always face down, always silent, always in his pocket, even in the shower. The same man who used to forget it everywhere suddenly. Could not let it out of his sight. One afternoon, while he was at work, I tried calling him because the baby had not been moving much. I was terrified. When he did not pick up, I panicked. I called 3 times. Nothing. I texted him. Still nothing. I ended up crying alone in the bathroom until the baby finally kicked. He walked in hours later saying, "Sorry, I was in a meeting." But his shirt was wrinkled and his hair looked touched, like someone had run their fingers through it. That was the first time I felt something break inside me. A pregnant woman should never feel like she is competing for her husband's attention. But that is exactly how I felt. 2 days later, the truth started cracking through. Mark forgot to close a notification on his phone. I was picking up his laundry when his phone buzzed on the dresser. Normally, I never touched his things, but the vibration was loud. And I thought maybe it was important. The screen lit up. A message from someone named Tori. It read, "Last night was perfect. I miss you already." My whole body went cold. The kind of cold that starts in your bones and spreads slowly, painfully. I stared at that message for what felt like hours. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But I just stood there, clutching his shirt, breathing like the room was running out of air. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back. Puffy eyes, swollen belly, messy hair, fear written across my face. I looked betrayed. I looked exhausted. And I looked stupid for trusting him. I put his phone down exactly how I found it. No confrontation, not yet. I needed more than one text. I needed the full truth. That night, I pretended everything was normal. I kissed him on the cheek. He flinched. I cooked dinner. He barely ate. I asked him how work was. He lied without blinking. While he showered, I took his spare car key, his old iPad, and a notebook. I was done being naive. After he fell asleep, I sneaked to the bathroom with his iPad. He never bothered logging out of anything on it. His messages synced automatically. My heart dropped as dozens, no, hundreds of messages loaded. He was not just cheating. He was in a full relationship. Pictures, voice notes, plans, jokes, complaints about me, complaints about the pregnancy, complaints about how boring I had become. The worst one said, "She is slowing down my life. You are what I want. I just need to figure out how to get out clean." Get out clean? Like I was a mess he needed to escape from. Like our baby was a burden. I covered my mouth to stop myself from crying out loud. I sat on the cold bathroom floor, shaking uncontrollably, reading message after message. Every word stabbed deeper. I read until I felt numb, until I could not cry anymore. When I finally walked back into the bedroom, I watched him sleep, peaceful, relaxed, comfortable. How can someone destroy your life and sleep like nothing happened? The next morning, I woke up different. Not fully angry yet. More like empty, quiet, focused, like something switched off inside me. He did not notice. In fact, he left early without even saying goodbye. That entire day, I did something I never thought I would do. I met with a lawyer, a good one, a very good one. She did not sugarcoat anything. She told me exactly what would happen if I left. Now versus if I waited until after the baby was born. She told me what I could get, what I deserved, and every right I had. And let me tell you something. Knowledge is gasoline for revenge. Once you know the rules, you know exactly how to break someone without breaking yourself. When I got home, Mark was already acting weird again. More distant. More irritated. More guilty. But I kept pretending. Acting like the loving wife. Acting like the clueless pregnant woman who needed him. 3 days later, I finally got the proof I did not know I needed. He told me he had a late work dinner, but I knew better. I waited until he left, then grabbed my keys and followed him. My heart was pounding the entire time. I kept thinking, what if I am wrong? What if I am reading too much into this? But deep down I knew. The kind of knowing that does not need evidence. He drove to a hotel. A hotel. He parked, checked in, and walked inside with a bag. 10 minutes later, she walked in too. Tori. I recognized her from her pictures. Younger than me, thinner, loud laugh, cheap style, the kind of girl who liked attention more than values. I watched them kiss in the hallway like they were in some teenage fantasy. Something inside me died right there, but something else was born in its place. Call it strength, call it rage, call it justice. Whatever it was, it kept me calm. So calm that even I did not understand myself. I recorded everything. Photos, videos, times, dates, license, plates, receipts. I documented it all. Then I went home, crawled into bed alone, and placed my hand on my belly. I whispered to my baby, "Do not worry. You are going to be safe. I promise you will never be second to anyone." The next morning, I cooked breakfast with a smile on my face. When he walked into the kitchen, stretching and yawning like he had actually been at work, I looked him dead in the eyes and asked, "Did you sleep well?" He said, "Yeah, long night. I am exhausted." I swear if I had not been pregnant, I would have thrown the entire pan at him. Instead, I just said, "You should rest this weekend. You look tired." He smiled, thinking I was still the naive wife. He had no idea what was coming, because the next steps of my plan, those were the steps that would make sure I walked away with everything. And he walked away with nothing. But that is just the beginning. I wish I could tell you that after that night, everything became simple. It did not. It actually got darker. And before I continue, please make sure you subscribe, because what happened next is something no one in my life ever saw coming. The morning after I left Mark standing in that empty, echoing house, I woke up on my sister's couch with my whole body shaking. I was not cold. I was not scared. I think my mind was finally processing everything I had held inside for months. The lies, the humiliation, the way he had touched someone else while I carried his child. It all hit me like a tidal wave, and I could not stop the tears. My sister Jenna sat next to me, rubbing my shoulder, whispering, "You did the right thing. You finally chose yourself." But deep down, choosing myself felt like walking into a storm with no umbrella. I had no idea what Mark would do next. And trust me, I was not prepared for the lengths he would go. By noon, my phone exploded with messages. Half of them were from Mark, the other half from numbers I did not recognize. Mark sent long paragraphs begging me to come home. Then 5 minutes later, he would switch to insults. "You destroyed our family. You are overreacting. You are ruining my life because of something that meant nothing." It was unbelievable how quickly he positioned himself as the victim. But the anonymous numbers were worse. "Homewrecker. Drama queen. You should be ashamed." Whoever she was, the woman he slept with, she had clearly told people her side. And I guess she left out the part where she knowingly slept with a married man who was expecting a child with his wife. Typical. Jenna snatched the phone from me and blocked every number one by one. "Let them scream into the void," she said. They do not deserve your peace. I took a deep breath. She was right. But I also knew I had to stay focused. And focus for me meant finishing what I started. Remember the lawyer I mentioned? The one Mark thought I would never actually call? Well, that afternoon I was sitting in his office again. Only this time I was not crying or shaking. I was calm. Calm in a way that even scared me a little. He pulled out the prenup Mark had signed years ago and placed it on the table. Your husband is in violation of 3 clauses, he said. Infidelity, emotional abandonment, and marital misconduct. You are legally entitled to everything you originally brought into the marriage. Plus significantly more. I asked him, so what exactly does that mean? He slid a folder toward me. The house, the cars, the joint savings account. The retirement fund Mark always bragged about. Even the property his parents had gifted him. All of this, the lawyer said, is yours. I sat there, silent, staring at the papers like I was reading a stranger's life. It felt unreal, like I had stepped outside of myself and was watching someone else get everything. I had once prayed for security, stability, a future for my child. But now it felt like justice. Not revenge, not payback. Justice. When I signed the documents, my hand did not even shake. That was the moment I realized I had become someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who was not going to suffer quietly anymore. But Mark, he was not done causing chaos. 2 days later, he showed up at Jenna's house, banging on the door so hard the pictures on the wall rattled. I watched from the hallway, holding my belly instinctively, listening to him yell my name like he owned me. Open the damn door, Anna. We need to talk. Jenna marched to the porch and told him to leave before she called the police. But Mark shoved past her like she was a piece of furniture. He looked at me with red, wild eyes. What are you doing to me? He shouted. How could you take everything? I made one mistake. One mistake. I swear that phrase follows me to this day, like a ghost. I stepped forward and told him to leave. Calm, steady, no fear in my voice. And that made him furious. He wanted the old version of me, the girl who cried and begged and forgave. But she was gone. You ruined my life, he shouted again. No, I said quietly. You ruined mine. I am just returning what you gave me. He lunged toward me like he was about to grab my arm, but Jenna wedged herself between us so fast he stumbled back. My sister may be 5'2", but trust me, she is fire. She told him if he ever stepped foot near me again, he would regret it. That was the first time I saw fear flicker in Mark's eyes. He left, slamming the door so hard it shook the whole house. Jenna immediately called the police and filed a trespassing report. And just like that, Mark could not legally come near me anymore. But he had one last move, a desperate one. A week later, he tried to claim that I was mentally unstable because I was pregnant and emotional. He actually tried using my pregnancy against me. He tried to paint me as unfit. He tried to keep the house he abandoned. That backfired instantly. My lawyer sent every message he ever texted me, every voicemail, every insult, every denial, every time he tried to guilt me for his cheating, every attempt to manipulate me into coming home. The court saw everything. And then came the moment that changed everything for Mark. His affair partner, the woman he thought would protect him, she testified against him. Turns out she had no idea how serious things would get. She thought cheating with a married man was just fun drama. But when the legal documents hit her doorstep, she switched sides instantly. She exposed every message, every hotel booking, every video call, every plan they made behind my back. I sat there in the courtroom listening to their conversations, my stomach twisting, hearing him call her baby while I was at home throwing up from morning sickness, hearing him say things like, she will not leave. She loves me too much. He really believed that. He truly thought I was too weak to ever walk away. But the judge only needed 5 minutes. 5 minutes to confirm everything. By the end of the hearing, it was official. The house was mine. The savings were mine. The assets were mine. Mark walked out with nothing but a box of clothes and a future he completely destroyed. With his own hands. After the court case was over, I went back to the house alone. The home I once cleaned, decorated, and dreamed about raising my child in. The place where he thought he could betray me and still sleep peacefully at night. It was empty. His things were gone. The echo of the rooms felt cold, hollow, unfamiliar. But it was mine, and I walked down the hallway feeling something I had not felt in a long time. Freedom. Pure, silent, terrifying freedom. I stood in what used to be our bedroom. The bed was gone. The closet was half empty. But on the floor, shoved behind the curtains like he forgot it, was a small black notebook. His handwriting was unmistakable. My heart raced as I picked it up. Something inside me told me not to open it. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. Inside were lists, pages of them, where he planned to take her on vacations, what he wanted to buy her for Christmas, how he planned to tell me he wanted a break after the baby was born. He was going to leave me. Not for one mistake, not for a moment of weakness. He had planned everything. I sat on the bedroom floor shaking, whispering to myself, he never loved me. But then something inside me shifted. He never valued me, but I survived anyway. And that was enough. I stayed in the house for hours, cleaning, organizing, trying to erase the parts of him that still lingered. And when I finally lay down that night, alone, exhausted, but safe, I felt my baby kick for the first time. It was like the universe whispered, "You did the right thing." Months have passed since then. Mark tried reaching out a few more times, but with the restraining order and the court rulings, he eventually disappeared into the mess he created. I gave birth to a healthy, beautiful baby girl. And when I held her for the first time, I realized something. Mark did not break me. He freed me. He freed me from settling, from crying alone in the bathroom at 2 a.m., from believing his lies, from thinking I deserved less. And now, I am raising my daughter in a peaceful home. A home he lost because he tried to betray the woman who would have done anything for him. Sometimes people destroy their own lives long before you walk away. You just give them the silence they need to finish the job. Thank you for listening to my story. If you want more real, raw, emotional stories like this, make sure you follow and subscribe. My next story will prove that sometimes silence is the loudest revenge of all.